Oh boy, we got ourselves a doozy today. Welcome everybody. Thank you for tuning in to Dangerous Misinformation. Join us today as we'll be talking about pressing topics such as blackmail, student loans, giving reparations, and much more fun for the entire family. Appreciate you being here. This is Dangerous Misinformation. Yes. Welcome everybody. Thank you for tuning in to Dangerous Misinformation. I am your host, Rodney Smith. You can find me on all social media platforms at Lord Petty, some form of some underscores, and you'll figure it out because you see this big beaming pasty face smiling back at you. So go and add me on there. This is the number one podcast in the world for Dangerous Misinformation. The number one source for it. The only podcast in the world where we love everybody. We make fun of everything, and if you ain't know, I wrote a great book that you can go pick up on Amazon. It's called The Petty Principles. It's only like $6.69, I believe, and it has plenty of dangerous misinformation in it that I can't say on the internet. So when the power grid does eventually go down, right? When shit goes and hits the wall and the power grid goes down and you're not going to have your computer and we're all just running around barefoot, and some of you might be lucky in your chaklas running around, right? The world, there's not going to be any entertainment, so you got to stock up on some books. So I got a ton of books, and so if you want a good one, go get the Petty Principles. Yeah. Anyways, did you survive Halloween? Did you have trick-or-treaters? Did any kids fork your lawn or piss in your mailbox or burn your house down or anything like that? Hopefully not. If you're lucky enough to have a house, which I shouldn't say luck because nothing in this life is luck. If you're fortunate enough, because fortune is not something, everybody can be fortunate. You can make yourself fortunate, okay? So if you're fortunate enough, being fortunate is just like another word of being appreciative. So if you are fortunate enough to have a house, hopefully some kids did not burn it down. Anyways, dude, let's jump into it. Even though we already jumped into it. I want to run for political office, and the reason I want to run is I'm just kind of curious what kind of dirt will be dug up. I want to know what kind of shit that people are going to come up with that they're going to dig up from my past and claim that I did. I want to know like what ginormous troglodyte is going to claim I tried to finger her at a 7th grade dance or something like that, and some person who's first and last name I don't even know. I want to see what they will I want to see what they dig up. I want to see which like half autistic woman claims that I tried to force myself upon her at a sorority house at a college I never went to or something like that. I'd be very, very, very curious because I don't think I have too much dirt. I mean, everybody's got a little bit of dirt, but I'd be really curious. I kind of want to hire a PI. I kind of want to hire a private investigator and stick him on myself just to see what he'll come up with. I'll probably find some fucked up shit about how I went to a party at one point and dropped a turd in the top of the toilet bowl, or stole condoms from a 7-Eleven in 7th grade, and then I took them home and, tried them on my little 7th grade wiener. Yeah, you know what I never understand? They say that the average penis length is like 5.5 inches, but then condoms are always like 8 inches long. Yeah, did I just throw myself under the bus there? I don't care, dude. I don't have a monster cock. I think that's one thing dudes we worry way too much about. Porn's fucked us up. Well, it's like, oh my God, my dick's small. It's probably not. You're just watching dude with a fucking hammer. It's like watching the NFL, right? It's like watching the NFL and then saying, oh, I'm not very athletic, which yes, you're not, and you don't have a huge cock. But if you're going to go outside, like you're athletic enough to go throw the football with your kid, and you're athletic enough to just pipe down some chick you meet at a dive bar with 3 cats and a 600 square foot apartment. You don't got to just, even though she's going to be like, oh, you got to make 7 figures, 7 inches, and be 7 feet tall. You got to be the 777s. And then maybe like the 5s will settle for the 666s, right? But you really don't have to worry about it, I don't think. As long as you know how to do like that thing where you're like, which I don't know how to do that. Anyway, dude, there was a Fresh and Fit clip recently where Myron was talking. Like, I don't watch that shit because I think it's the red pill stuff is just animosity. You know what I mean? It's just anger and animosity. It's just basically male feminism. Like, none of these dudes would be watching that shit if they were successful with women. That's why it's so funny. Like, you'll say something online. Like, people say, oh, I'd never date a single mother. I mean, it's not my dream situation, but if I look at the positive, she'll have better shit to worry about than what I'm doing. Like, she's providing for a kid, you know? And then I'll comment that when these guys are talking all this shit about single moms. And they'll be like, oh, we found ourselves a simp. Oh, men don't, or when I say women have the right to have standards, like, oh, men don't care about how much money a woman makes. It's like, dude, you wouldn't even be here. If you didn't get on Google one day and were like, I need dating advice, you would have never found Fresh and Fit. And then you watch that shit and then you just regurgitate all that stuff that these people are saying. But so Myron the other day, he was talking about how eating pussy is like beta or something. I can't remember. And I finally looked at the comments, and that's when people were finally kind of like giving this dude some pushback because he's gone a little too far with it, bro. He's gone a little bit too far with it. I would love to go on that show, dude. I would love to go on that show just kind of as we need a show where we have a woman who talks to just a bunch of dipshit dudes, like a bunch of just like really dumb jock types, and then just like a bunch of super beta male, just like feminist type dudes. I need to talk Emily into this. I need to talk Emily Saves America. I need to talk her into starting a show. I don't even need the equity in it. It'll be a huge show. I don't even care because I don't give a shit about money. Just set me up with a favor later, I guess. But I would love, if I had fucking money, I would produce a show for her where she just sits there with the panel of like 6 retarded dudes, and it just points out how easy it is to make people look really stupid in front of a camera. But anyways, dude, what was I talking about? Oh yeah, them digging up dirt. One thing they might dig up is how my friends and I basically almost ran a business into the ground when we were like 16. And I barely had anything to do with it. So a bunch of my buddies, they worked at this fast food place in the town I grew up in. And one of them, I think, was even a manager at one point, or not a manager, but like a lead or something. And we were going, and we're teenagers, so we don't give a fuck what we're putting in our bodies. We're eating milkshakes and ice cream and eating cheeseburgers and hot dogs and all that garbage, right? And so there's like 3 or 4 of our buddies, they work at this place. And we would go in there, and one of them was like experimenting with drugs at the time and getting hammered and drinking gin. Should I say names? I don't think I'll say names because then people could trace this back. But so we would go into this place, and dude would be so fucked up at the counter. Like, he would go in and be like, hey, can I get a number 1? And all of a sudden he would give you like 3 cheeseburgers, extra fries, onion rings, a shake. And like, you'd give him $10 and he'd give you like $33 back. And this went on for a whole summer. And then one time we're having a barbecue. One time we're having a fucking barbecue. What's the statute of limitations on this? I mean, this was at least 15 years ago. We were having a barbecue, so then we just broke into the restaurant late at night, and then we just took the patties from the restaurant because we didn't want to buy them ourselves because we were fucking bums. Fucking ghetto-ass children, dude. Yeah, that shit was... I can't believe they got away with it. I remember one time... One of the guys, he was saying that the actual like owner came through at one point, and he was just scrubbing off some dishes in the back, and the owner was like, hey, are you gonna use some soap on that or anything? And he's like, oh yeah, of course. How did I forget? And he's like, dude, I've never used soap on any of the dishes here. So yeah, don't eat at restaurants. I worked at a restaurant. I was a dishwasher for when I was like 16 at a different restaurant. I think I lasted maybe 3 weeks. It was the worst thing ever. I remember we had soups. We put soup in these big like oven tray looking things, these big metal aluminum. They looked like a baking dish, but it was filled with soup. And then one of my buddies who was working there before me, he hawked a fucking snot rocket into the soup. It's like, don't eat the fucking soup here, dude. And this was a very prevalent restaurant. That it wasn't like a nice restaurant, but it was kind of like a staple in the community. So that's why I don't like eating out, bro. And people say, oh no, people don't do anything to your food. I've seen it with my own eyes how people will fuck with your food or not give a shit. But yeah, being a dishwasher was terrible. It was absolutely terrible. I was working with all these like drug addicts and stuff. And yeah, and I just wanted to bang all the servers. But I was just in the back, just scrubbing dishes. And it was terrible. All right, let's jump into this. Let's move forward. Speaking of washing dishes, okay? You ever notice it is always the people most opinionated on how the world should be ran who don't have their own freaking lives together? People with thousands and thousands of dollars of student loans that want to call you uneducated and say, this is how the world should be ran. If you can't make a livable wage in the most prosperous country ever, okay, and if you can't repay your student loan because you decided to go study something that adds no value to the market, if you were adding any sort of value to anybody, if you're doing anything marginally important, you'd be making at least enough money to feed yourself, okay? But you get these people, all these people that are going for, how is it the, quote, most educated people? They want like socialism, which doesn't, socialism and communism, which doesn't work. You can't find one place on the entire world where communism has ever worked. And then people go, oh, you're uneducated. Oh, you can just Google it. These are the people where they get on Google. Like, I don't trust Google. I don't trust Google because all it is just, it's just a search engine, and you can control the searches. When people, the same way people pay for ads, right? You can pay Google so your shit pops up first. So if Google can make your shit pop up first as an ad, you think they can't determine what pops up in general? So whatever information they deem as, okay, well, this is the information. So if you Google that, it's not like Google's just this big truth box. It drives me nuts when I say something like, dude, you can Google it and it'll just tell you, oh, so some article that just some other random person put on the internet somewhere, somebody who breathes the same air as me, they put an article up somewhere, and then Google, the tech lizards who get to decide what pops up first, they decide, okay, we like this. So when you ask this question, we're going to tell you that this is the answer to it. I'm supposed to take that at face value? Nah, dude. People are too gullible, bro. It's propaganda. Everything is fake news. Everything that you think is not it. We're all just being lied to at all times because we need to control the population. Imagine if the absolute truth was circulating at all times, how much people would lose their fucking minds. Somebody out there, they probably have the information for God knows what, you know, the God particle. They've probably found the God particle at this point. They realize there's nothing at the end of it. So they don't even want to tell us because they don't want the world being hopeless, because they would lose a grip on taking everybody's tax money to buy gender study programs and shit like that, dude. But yeah, like I said, it's always the people with their, you know, with all the tattoos and piercings on their face and whose lives are just in complete disarray. The people whose lives are in complete disarray always have the most opinions on how the world should be ran and what's wrong with the world. There's nothing too wrong with the world because you look, there are rich people. So somebody's figuring it out. You just can't figure it out. So just because you can't figure it out doesn't mean that the system's absolutely broken. Is the system perfect? Definitely not. But why are people coming here? You don't see people hanging off of jets to try to go to the Middle East or communist China or anywhere else or Southern America. I was watching videos the other day of a town in Africa called like Dujabi, which is this port where everybody goes and fills up their tanker ships, right? Somewhere off like the Horn of Africa. And they go into this town, right? And it's like, you know, all they have is basically oil. But you go around this town and the people are just shitting in the streets, throwing garbage everywhere. And it was fucking disgusting. It was fucking disgusting. So anyways, you don't see anybody clamoring to go to any of these other places besides Western Europe and the United States for certain reasons. And so you get all these like dumbass white people that just can't figure it out. Why is it somebody can come here from like a Vietnam or something, right? Or come here from Cuba, right? Somewhere where they were like actually being oppressed, or like the Philippines, right? Or a bunch of political violence. Somebody who can flee that, they come to the United States, they, you know, apply themselves and they make themselves a decent life, and sometimes very successful, you know, if they strike, blah, blah, blah. And then you get these bitchy white people, or just dude, or like black people that have been here for generations and generations, right? People that just can't figure it the fuck out. And that's why I think we don't have as much of a systemic problem as we have a cultural problem, with everybody just having every fucking excuse in the book, dude. Do I sound like a boomer? Maybe. And yes, the boomers had it. There's always a middle ground, dude. The system isn't perfect. The boomers had it easy. But if you apply yourself just in the slightest, okay, you're going to be all right. I promise. I promise you, if you just don't do drugs, have kids before you get married that you can't afford, if you don't do dumb shit like break laws, if you don't go and argue with the cops, if you don't do certain things, it's not even a matter of always applying stuff. It's not always a matter of doing things. It's also a matter of not doing bad things. If you even do just like the minor bit of doing the positive, but you make sure that you do not do the negatives, you're going to be all right, bro. But what we tell people, we give people the green light to just go be, we say, oh, don't shame them. Don't judge anybody. Everybody should do what they want to do. And then they go do a bunch of dumb shit. And then we try to find systemic errors and blame it on like whatever ism and bigotry you want to call it. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. At this point, honestly, I think we should just give fucking reparations and just get it over with. If we can pay billions of dollars for wars in other countries, why don't we just do reparations at this point and just move past this fucking racism shit? Because if we just give out billions and billions of dollars, when I say we, I'm not giving any of it, or maybe I am through tax dollars or some shit like that, but who cares? It's not like you're ever going to see the tax dollars ever again. It's not like there's not going to be fucking potholes on the road. Just give out billions and billions of dollars of reparations. And then if you're smart, you'll go and open up a business where if a bunch of poor people, right? If a bunch of poor people that never had money are going to all of a sudden just get thousands of dollars out of nowhere, what do you think they're going to do with the money? They're going to go spend it on dumb shit. And if somebody's buying, somebody's selling. So all these like white people that are up and tight, like, oh no, reparations, no reparations. I say yes, reparations, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to get in between that money because people are going to go out and they're just going to blow all their reparation money. And I'm going to get in between. I'm going to find something that they're buying and I'm going to sell it. I'm going to hell. Anyways, where we at? Let's start winding shit down, dude. Let's start winding shit down. I want to keep these under 20 minutos. Leave a rating on this extremely fucked up podcast. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Find me on the social medias, add me, say what up, even though I don't really check my IG DMs anymore, but that's okay. I've been going brazy on TikTok. I really like TikTok lately. And anyways, I think that should do. Y'all. Yeah. Deuces. Yeah.